College professors of Reddit. What's your "I'm surprised you made it out of high school" story? My first year teaching, I had a student who had failed the previous year due to missing too many cooking labs to pass and not handing in half the assignments. I had rewritten the curriculum and assignments. I noticed that the student hadn't been handing certain things in and had been skipping my lectures. So I decided to have a chat with them. They thought their marks for that semester were cumulative with their previous year's mark with a different curriculum, different assignments, and a different professor, so they just had to make up enough marks to get a passing grade. This is a post-grad program. They had a BSc in dietetics. I busted my ass getting my BS in dietetics. I didn't get licensed because I couldn't handle the internship process. This person went into a master's program. Now I'm sad. That doesn't mean they're licensed either though. Not a college professor. But I worked in my university's writing center for a while. I had a girl come in with a research paper bibliography that listed my mom as a source several times. When I pressed, she told me her mom looked up everything and sent it to her and she it in the paper. She told me she had always done it that way. That's awesome. I was picturing not so much that her mom looked things up, but she just asked her mom about facts. What was life like in the 80s? Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And would you say there was a big counterculture movement in the 80s? Oh, definitely. It was definitely because having multiple phone lines in the house was becoming more common. So children could talk to each other directly. Parents had no idea who their kids' friends were. Thanks, Mom. Due to dropping costs of landline telephone services, children and teens of the 80s could communicate with one another directly without parental vetting of children. Mom. 2021. I laughed so hard imagining the scene. LMAO. God, I'm so glad I don't have to create any citations anymore. Quite a claim that you don't have to make citations. What's your source to back that up? Ever heard of my mom? Once had identical twin sisters who turned in identical essays. Both were directly plagiarized from a Google search and received identical zeros. At least they stuck to their theme. Seriously. That's commitment. If they bring that level of symmetry to an original script, they can get someone in Hollywood to produce. I once got an exam essay that mentioned how much Mandela hated the Jews. After scratching my head for a bit and wondering if I'd missed some obvious signs of his anti-Semitism, I realized she meant Mengele. As in Joseph Mengele, the Nazi angel of death. Hard to think of a worse person she could have confused him for. Is this the Mandela effect? No. I'm pretty sure it's the Mengele effect. There have been disturbingly high numbers of students on a performance-based music degree who can't read music. Not musicologists or conceptual composers who could in theory get away with it. No. These were people turning up expecting to study Western classical performance. There was even a master's student once. I started reading your post and was like, well, performance-based. There are genres where a good ear is way more valuable than reading notes. I've known excellent professional musicians who barely know the basics of reading music. Then you said Western classical. That's not bluegrass. Where the songs are short and repetitive and improvisation is more valuable than reading. Reading music isn't optional in classical. And if the kids don't know that much when they're starting, they're definitely studying the wrong thing. Yeah, pretty much. I'm reasonably sure they got as far as they did because their teachers did all the work for them, teaching them examined pieces by rote, writing in the notes and giving them the most baseline uninspiring music. The kid and the craft are very much second fiddle to a paycheck and meeting some targets. Then you reach university day one and it's okay, so you're going to be side singing the tenor line of this choral piece in Latin, go. It's just cruelty to give your pupils the expectation that they'll be able to do a music degree if they're on another planet in terms of experience and understanding. Suzuki. They were raised in the Suzuki method. I changed high schools after my freshman year, and found myself in a music class with a bunch of piano-playing Suzuki-trained prodigies, who were amazing players, but functionally illiterate. Blew my mind. Despite my being the weakest player, the teacher wound up always asking me to sight read the new pieces for the rest of the class. I once spent an hour explaining to college junior that an even number is divisible by 2. WH-. What? How? Literally the definition of an even number is a number that's evenly divisible by 2. What? Not me. But a friend who taught in the politics department received a paper about guerrilla warfare in South America. It was so poorly written she couldn't tell if it was a typo, or if they genuinely thought Colombia had been overrun by a Planet of the Apes-style revolution. ETA. This was in the UK and English was the student's first language. My mother and I were once watching the news and there was a story about Lebanese guerrillas. She said, "Ain't that awful? Women on women." I always lied and said I was Italian when I was younger because I knew if I said Lebanese I would never hear the end of being a lesbian. Just be glad you weren't born on the island of Lesbos. There is an old clip with an old Greek man saying in English that he was proud to be a lesbian. I teach at a community college that doesn't actually require a high school diploma to attend. So I've seen a lot. Mostly it's native English speakers who are virtually illiterate. No abstract or critical thinking skills at all. One wrote a paper about the causes of the Salem witch trials. She sided with the accusers because she'd seen some stuff, clearly not understanding the assignment. Another insisted I approve every word he wrote to make sure he was doing it right, when in reality he was wanting me to feed him answers since he didn't do the reading. Yet another wrote in a discussion board about Lord of the Flies. I like how they saved all the flies. That was my favorite part. If you've read the book, you can guess the look on my face. I was unfortunately friends with a girl who wrote a book report on the Wild Children Like Your Flies guy. The worst part is she didn't believe me when a guy who had actually read the book, told her that there was no part of the book where they put on disguises and act like nobles to break in somewhere. Also my entire class, and seemingly the teacher, thought that at the end of the book they escaped to America. Someone even cited that they had said a few times in the book that they wanted to go to America. They go to Finland. They very specifically, and explicitly, go to Finland at the end. I really don't know how basically no one else in my class actually finished the book. Same class of mine insisted one semester that the kid from the young adult novel Hatchet was smuggling drugs and hallucinated the entire experience of surviving a plane crash in the Canadian wilderness. Had to give them props for creativity. But they were really just bored. I don't blame them. Hatchet isn't for everyone. And the 2 sequels aren't for anyone. The alternate history version of Hatchet is alright though. In the final year of high school I had to intervene during a practical exam when a student attempted to heat a plastic petri dish of water using the blue flame of a Bunsen burner. That student is a PE teacher now. I read this twice. And the second time the first paragraph was even more painful, and your concluding comment even more relieving. Actually, that's still pretty concerning. PE teachers are responsible for sex ed. In Australia, at least. Not a professor, but in undergrad I was taking an American history course. Our professor was from Maryland and was probably in her early 40s. This kid asked her if she was one of the Pearl Harbor survivors. He couldn't grasp the fact that she was very much not alive at that time and that Pearl Harbor was not a harbor in Maryland. Some years ago I was doing a government telephone survey of retirement home residents to determine if they were eligible for veterans benefits. On one call the head nurse was answering my questions about one of her elderly patients. My first question was date of birth. She told me the man was born in March of 1928. Next question, is he a military veteran? She said he was. I said, I assume he served during the Korean War era. Oh. No. She answered. World War II. He fought at the Battle of Pearl Harbor. I paused. Do you mean he was a civilian in Honolulu who witnessed the attack on Pearl Harbor? No. She said. He was in the Navy and won a bunch of medals for shooting down some Japanese planes with his machine gun. I paused again. Are you certain of his birth date? She said she was certain and asked why I questioned it. I explained if he was born in March of 1928. Then on December 7, 1941 he was only 13 years old. The woman had no idea when Pearl Harbor was attacked and the old boy had been bullspeeping everyone about being a war hero. At my community college one of the required security questions was where were you on 9/1999? Half the students were born after 2000.
Hey guys, if you like this video then smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel for more contents like this. And don't forget to press that bell icon to get notified for future videos. Thanks for watching. Click here to see more videos.